Michigan Out of Doors Online is brought to you in part by
Metalloid Firearms and Sports, utilizing botanical technologies to develop an advanced high-performance line of environmentally friendly firearm maintenance products that will not only clean and protect your firearms, but also your leather and wood components. Find out more at metalloidfirearmsproducts.com. And by Mr. Muskie Charters, offering full-service guided fishing trips for walleye, muskie, bass, and sturgeon on Lake St. Clair and the Detroit and St. Clair rivers. Booking information is online at mrmuskiecharters.com.
Hey everyone, welcome to Michigan Out of Doors. I'm Jenny Olson, and we've got an all-new show for you this week. Firearm deer season just wrapped up here this week in Michigan, and we had cameras all over the state for the season. We're going to get to a couple of our other adventures that we didn't get to show you on last week's show. I was out with a Purple Heart veteran hunting a couple of different properties across the southern part of the state, and we stumbled upon an invite from Ted Nugent to hunt some of his property in Jackson County. You won't want to miss that story. But before we get to that, Jimmy and the guys have some other
Jenny,
fun
actually,
in store for us.
our first story on this week's show is going to take us above the bridge. Jordan Brown and Gabe Van Wormer were both at the same deer camp in Menominee County. You won't want to miss that story. We're also going to have an author on this week's show that's going to kind of help you introduce your youngster to the outdoors. Lots of good stuff on this week's show. You stay tuned. I'm Jimmy Gretzinger. It's time for Michigan Out of Doors.
From the first spring rains to the soft summer breeze, dancing on the pine forest floor, the autumn colors catch your eyes. Here come the crystal winter skies. It's Michigan, Michigan Out of Doors. Someday our children all will see this is their finest legacy, the wonder and the love of Michigan. As the wind comes whispering through the trees, the sweet smell of nature's in the air. From the Great Lakes to the quiet stream, shining like a sportsman's dream, it's a love of Michigan we all share.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Country Smokehouse, offering a variety of meat products. Country Smokehouse is located 3 miles south of I-69 on M53, just south of Imlay City. Country Smokehouse is a meat processor, a butcher, and a destination for sportsmen. By KL Outdoor, a Muskegon manufacturer of sportsmen's outdoor products for over 30 years, featuring the Terrain line of hard-sided hunting blinds designed for quick setup and removal with quiet operation. For more information on other products, kloutdoor.com. By G5 Outdoors, makers of the Quest and Prime bows. Manufactured and designed in Memphis, Michigan, G5 offers archery bows, broadheads, and accessories. On the web at g5outdoors.com. By Meyer, a destination for hunting, fishing, and camping supplies, offering hunting apparel and accessories as well as hunting and fishing licenses. Meyer has nearly everything you need to take on nature and get you there.
For the 2016 firearm opener, Gabe and I headed north to a familiar deer camp owned and operated by Dean Hulse. We would both be running a camera with different hunters, hoping to showcase the great hunting in this region of the state. With above average temperatures and no snow, we headed out on opening morning, hoping for the best.
UP, Menominee County, opening day 2016. Sitting here waiting for a nice early buck. See what we can find today. Didn't look like a very big buck, but
all in all, the movement was pretty slow in our blind, with only a few deer passing by and no shooter bucks. Gabe was set up with another hunter several miles away, and we were hopeful that they were having a little better luck.
So it's opening day, about 6:30 in the morning here in the UP. And, not a lot of deer movement yet this morning, a lot of squirrel movement this morning, but it was 14 years ago. I got the opportunity to hunt with Jenny Olson on the same piece of property and took a nice 8-point. We're hoping to repeat that this year. See what we can do.
Well, unfortunately, their opening day also ended without seeing a nice buck. But as we arrived back to camp, we were happy to hear that one of the other hunters had had some luck.
Well, it was a slow morning starting out. I didn't see my first deer till about 10:30, and did an all-day sit. Got first nubbin buck came out about 250. He got chased off by about a 4-pointer who kept looking back in the woods, and 3 o'clock this guy came out, gave me about a 70-80 yard shot, quartering toward. The 270 was true, and about 50 yards later he was piled up. So
pretty quick hunt, huh?
Pretty quick hunt, yeah. I was a little nervous. He didn't actually bleed. There wasn't, the bullet didn't exit. Kind of cool thing, I actually found the bullet just on the other side of the skin. And there was not a blood trail, so I was a little nervous at first. Maybe pulled the shot or something, but just kind of checked all the trails, all the exit trails from where I had shot, and ended up finding them without a speck of blood. So.
Is this where you always hunt?
It's not, no. So my family actually has a camp in Stevenson, but working with Dean here, he kind of hooked me up with a new spot here, and first sit on the new spot, pretty excited.
Well, we started guiding 29 years ago between Michigan and South Dakota, Colorado, but really our base has always been here. And we've had some of the leases for 29 years. Some of the landowners that we've hunted their property. We killed a great buck today on one of the farms that we've had for 29 years straight. And we do have Steve, one of the guys here, that's actually been here every year since then. So we've been doing it for then. I started doing it as a living. Now it's just a passion. We do point restrictions. We try to kill 8-point bucks or better. And we've been doing that for a long time now, probably 15 years. And one of the things that we've done is we still want it to be fun. So if someone's happy with an 8-point buck, whatever it is, we've killed very few 1.5s. You almost never see a 1.5-year-old 8 here. So we're really getting rid of the not killing any 1.5s, and fewer of our guys are killing 2.5s now. So now we're starting to see better bucks. And we're only taking 1 buck per person. We don't take 2 bucks per person, which makes a big difference as well. Now this year we've got camera pictures of lots of 4 or 5-year-old bucks, which tonight we took 2 bucks that are either 4 or 5. We can't tell for sure yet.
Well, day 2 ended the same as day 1. And once again, when we arrived back to camp, there was a nice buck on the ground.
Yesterday I saw, a mixture of does, a lot of buck fawns this year. And I saw 1 small 8-point and 1 6-point yesterday, and a fork that must have got in a fight because he was all bloody on one side. And today I saw him like 6 times and he had lost that antler. So he must have gotten another fight and it broke off, and he was chasing all day today, on and off. Like every couple hours he'd come from a different direction. Mainly I saw a spike today. I saw another new forkhorn I hadn't seen, and I saw a 7-point as well. So it was just a good day. The deer moved all day today. And it was getting towards the end, right at dark, and he came out on my right side, made a beeline out for the field, and got in the mixture of a bunch of does. Had to wait for him to clear, and fortunately dropped him with 1 shot. I started hunting here about 15 years ago and have shot a number of what I'd call the Michigan 8s, that are just a normal, really good, nice 8-points. And ever since not only the state's gone to 4 on one side, but here at Dean's Camp, we've been doing that forever. We're seeing more and more bigger deer every year. I have seen some even a lot bigger than this, but they've always been out at 400, 500, 600 yards. They always seem to just evade wherever I'm sitting at. So they're out there. It's just getting a shot at them is what it is. But through the years, it's just getting better and better.
There were several nice bucks shot in camp on the second night, and on the third night, Dean's wife Linda shot an incredible buck that truly is a testament to the potential in that area. Although luck was not on our side in terms of getting a kill on camera, it was still a great couple of days at deer camp here in Michigan's Upper Peninsula.
In this next story, I was able to tag along with one of our nation's heroes. I hit the woods with a Vietnam veteran for a couple of fun days of hunting. On November 17th, I headed down to the southern part of the Mitten to Camp Liberty. The folks at Safari Club had arranged a hunt here for Vietnam vet and Purple Heart recipient George Coward. In 1968, George stepped on a landmine and lost his leg while serving our country in Vietnam. When he returned home and recovered, he took up hunting and got into competitive shooting and archery. He was excited to be out here in hopes of filling one of his Michigan deer tags. We had no luck at Camp Liberty's land, so George accepted an invite to hunt down the road with the folks from Michigan Operation Freedom Outdoors on day 2. We had no luck there either, but things were about to get more exciting.
Well, it's been a little bit slow. The weather's kind of really warm, and I think the deer are all laid down and bedded up, but I've had the opportunity to hunt here at Camp Liberty, and then we went over to another place this morning, and we hadn't seen anything, so Mr. Ted Nugent asked me if I'd like to come out to his place, and I'm accepting his offer.
Are you pretty excited?
Yes, I am.
Have you ever met him?
No, I haven't. You know, I've watched a lot of his movies, and hey, I think it would be just great to meet Ted.
George and Ted exchanged challenge coins, which is a military tradition to promote friendship and encourage success. Ted's wife Shemaine was here to offer her support too. Before heading out, Ted treated George to a performance of the national anthem.
We have 1,100 sacred, magical, mystical Michigan wildlife habitat acres. I mean, it really is the lap of God. We have fens and swamps and marshes and agriculture and forests and valleys and ravines. We have everything here except desert. So you can shoot whatever you want tonight, but if you have an inkling of patience, these guys are there. But if you'd like to shoot this guy, I will be just as excited as you will be.
The guys headed out to the woods in George's van, and Ted explained the perfect spot he had chosen for the afternoon hunt. What are we going to be looking at from our spot?
Well, you're going to be where agriculture meets the marshlands, meets the pucker brush hell zones of sanctuary for the deer, and hopefully the food plots will draw them out before dark. And it is getting this late in the season. Maybe it's only a couple days into the gun season, but I've been hunting them hard since October 1st. We're finally getting a cold front coming in. There's a barometric pressure change happening right now, and that stupid, rotten, anti-hunting moon is dissipating.
Thank God.
Hate the big moon.
The supermoon that happened earlier in the week was certainly pretty to look at, but most hunters weren't too happy about how it affected deer movement. Ted helped to get George settled in and would take the van down the road and then hunt a different part of his property tonight with his cameraman. It's pretty fun having Ted Nugent as your personal guide, and George was loving it.
Good luck.
Good luck. Aim small, miss small. Professional guide and outfitter, Uncle Ted reporting for duty, sir. Good luck, George.
You too,
Godspeed. Yeah, good luck, Jen.
We had a giant food plot in front of us, hardwoods behind us, cut corn to the east, and a huge swamp to the west. We were excited to see what unfolded. With the rut still on, George did some calling. A beautiful buck had made his way into the food plot, and George got out the rangefinder. He was using a shotgun today, and the buck was out at 202 yards, out of range for the 12 gauge.
That's too old, no. Too far. That's too old. Yeah. Too far. Yeah, darn it. He's going the wrong way. I wonder if we could grunt him over. Oh, there's more. There's a doe. Came out just past him.
While we waited and watched that buck and a couple of yearlings out in the field, George spotted some movement in the woods behind us. A couple of does had snuck in and were 40 yards behind the blind. With a doe tag in his pocket, he swung and tried to get the scope on one, but they were too antsy and charged out of there in a hurry. Meanwhile, that buck was still out in the field in front of us and had moved to around 190 yards but wasn't coming any closer. The does and yearlings seemed to be keeping him just too far out to pull off a shot. As the sun set, George's chances at this buck were fading fast. Oh, George, that was exciting.
Yeah, it was. You know, we had that buck sitting out there, came across the field, and he was out there with 6 does. It was kind of really cool. We watched him for how long? Half an hour?
Yeah.
But just couldn't get him to come in. Well, it was always another day, huh?
That's right. That's exciting.
It was awesome. Hey, saw a lot of deer tonight.
Even without a deer to show for it, this was a successful hunt in George's eyes. To meet a Michigan hunting and rock and roll legend, sit down to one of Shemaine's famous home-cooked wild game dinners, and have some close calls on a couple of deer was more than he had ever hoped for. Special thanks to the Nugents for inviting this hero to their Michigan haven, and to George Coward and all our veterans for serving our country and giving the ultimate sacrifice so that we may all enjoy the freedom of Michigan's Out of Doors.
We wrap up this week's show by highlighting an author who lives right here in Michigan, who has recently published a couple of children's books designed to get more kids into the outdoors.
I published 2 children's books. One of them is White's First Whitetail, and the other is Grace Goes Bow Hunting. How I got into writing books was right after I had my son, who's 4 years old now. My husband and I were talking about how we really wanted to pass on our tradition of hunting onto him. And so I started looking for books, and there was hardly anything out there for kids. So I decided, well, maybe it'd be kind of fun to write my own. So I wrote it, and then I sat on it for about 2 years. And then we moved here, and I met Dr. Kroll, and I talked to him about the idea, and he thought it was a really great idea. So I started pursuing it a little bit more, and eventually White's First Whitetail came along. And I guess one of my main goals with the book was because children today are just completely surrounded by electronics. Everywhere you go, there's tablets, there's phones, there's computers. Even in schools, that's all they have is electronics. And so one of the reasons was I really wanted to get kids away from electronics and back to focusing on getting out into nature. So that was one of the points I strived to come across in my book is, get out into the woods, get out into nature. Even if you're not hunting, even if you're just walking through the woods, it can be really beneficial just to turn off the TV, get away from that, and get back into nature. And then I guess I focus on hunting specifically because there's a lot of good learning tools that go along with hunting. Whether it's hunter's education or firearm safety or learning to respect the animal that you're hunting, which I think a lot of people forget about, unfortunately. And then the whole field to table movement that's taking place with wanting to know where your food comes from, what's in your food, things like that. Hunting really is the only way to know what exactly you're putting on your table.
For more information, check out the credits on this week's show.
Thanks for joining us this week for Michigan Out of Doors. Make sure you check us out online when you get a chance. You can do it a couple of different ways on our website at MichiganOutofDoorsTV.com or on our Facebook page at Michigan Out of Doors TV. We're on Facebook every few days letting you know where we are and where we're headed next. And speaking of where we're headed next, we've got a lot of fun in store for you here as we transition from fall into winter here at Michigan Out of Doors. We'll be doing a little late season walleye fishing, some muzzleloader hunting, a little bit of coyote hunting, all sorts of fun stuff headed your way.
Well, there will be a lot of good stuff coming over the next few weeks here in Michigan Out of Doors. It's kind of a neat time of the year as we transition into some of that wintertime activity. And you may have noticed that this week's show is a little shorter than normal, and that's because our PBS stations are in pledge. So if you are watching this on a PBS station, make sure you pledge early and pledge often. Let them know that you want to continue to support outdoor programming here in the great state of Michigan. Thanks so much for joining us this week. And if we don't see you in the woods or on the water, hopefully we'll see you right back here next week on your PBS station.
Michigan Out of Doors is presented by Showspan, producing consumer shows including the Ultimate Fishing Show Detroit, January 12th through 15th at Novi's Suburban Collection Showplace. The show features fishing tackle, trips, boats, and seminars on all Michigan game fish. The Ultimate Fishing Show, Novi, January 12th through 15th. By Jay's Sporting Goods, with locations in Clare and Gaylord. Jay's, serving the Michigan outdoor enthusiast since 1971 with a wide variety of outdoor products. The gear, the knowledge, the tradition of Jay's. On the web at jaysportinggoods.com. By the Michigan chapters of Safari Club International. For over 40 years, SCI has been protecting hunters' rights and promoting wildlife conservation here in Michigan and around the world. SCI chapter locations can be found on the web at firstformichigan.org. By Greenstone Farm Credit Services, making recreational land ownership possible across Michigan and northeast Wisconsin. Begin your land financing journey at one of Greenstone's 37 locations or visit greenstonefcs.com. Closed captioning is provided by Marvo Mineral, makers of Lucky Buck, deer management products including minerals to supplement deer diets year-round to improve health and antler growth.
When I wander far away, a dream stays with me night and day. It's the road that leads to my home state. I am a Michigan man. Changing seasons paint the scene like rainbow trout in a hidden stream. White-tailed deer in the tall pine trees. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above, I love this land. I am a Michigan man. From the Keweenaw down to St. Joe, Kalamazoo, East to Monroe, to St. Marie and back again. I am a Michigan man. I am a Michigan man. Ask where I'm from and I'll show you my hands. Lord above, I love